What's up, everybody? Mike here, and in this Baldur's Gate 3 video, I'll be going over the race features for every race in the game, as well as sub-races, to kind of help you decide on what race you should go with, along with what class that I think each race excels at. This is the full game too. It's finally out for everybody to see, so I'm going to talk about some of the changes here that were not in early access as well too. Keep in mind as well too that ability scores are not tied to race anymore. They are tied to the class, which gives more freedom to the player. So that, you know, in the long run, you can pick any race you want to go with any class, but I still feel like this is going to be helpful, you know, to help you decide and figure out which of these races will excel at certain classes in the game. And then you also got to factor in, you know, subclasses too. I won't be getting into classes, you know, I'll say that for a different video. This is going to mainly go over the race features. As you can see here to the right, I'm not going to delve too much into this really, especially like with skills here, which is tied to the background. Not going to do that. That'll be a separate video. That'll be more tailored to the class overview video I do in the near future. Okay, starting with the elf, which, as you can see here, has a good 4 race features here, starting with base racial speed at 9 meters per turn. And then you got elven weapon training, which you have a proficiency with the long sword, short bow, and longbow. Then also they get dark vision and Fey Ancestry. Now, Dark Vision here is going to have you be able to see in the dark up to 12 meters. And then Fey Ancestry, you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed. And magic can't put you to sleep. You have the High Elf sub-race here, where they get a choice of a cantrip. And you also have the Wood Elf here, which just gets a sub-race feature of Fleet or Foot. Your movement speed is increased by 1.5 meters. So, some key differences there, just with those sub-race features right there. And I want to recommend that for this particular race, the class that I think is going to excel at the most, at least for High Elf anyway, is going to be Wizard. Reason being, if you notice here, High Elf cantrip, you can choose, right? You can choose one early on right now between any of these. I'm not going to go through all these. You can do that if you have the game. But essentially, if you notice something, all these are reliant on your intelligence, meaning that the class that's going to, you know, have their damage and their main primary, you know, ability factor in as or be related to is Wizard, because Wizard uses intelligence. That's how they get their damage and do a lot of stuff with. So it makes sense that High Elf is going to probably be the best at Wizard. That's not to say you can't try your classes out. By all means, play how you want, but this is just to help highlight what this sub-race will most likely be best at. Wood Elf, on the other hand, has a few options here I think would excel at Ranger, Rogue, Monk, Fighter, and Druid, mainly because of the movement speed on top of, you know, these other race features. That's going to help out a lot with proficiency with long sword, short bow, and long bow, dark vision, Fey Ancestry, stuff like that. All going to be very helpful to that, and you get that extra movement speed with the Wood Elf, so that way you can move around the field longer. Monk especially, because, for example, Monk, you can go into a Shadow Monk type of subclass and be sort of a Shadow Ninja moving around the battlefield. Rogue, kind of similar thing. You have abilities in Rogue you can unlock that essentially allow you to move around the battlefield fast and sneakily, stealthily, like that. And this will allow you to move around faster too. Ranger as well, if you're just trying to stay, you know, out of the way of certain enemies' attacks like that, you can kind of keep on the move and attack from afar with the help of the movement sub feature. Fighter is good to kind of keep mobile if you're going to be a fighter tank or fighter DPS, just to keep moving around. Next, we have Tiefling. Now, the race features for Tiefling is base racial speed of 9 meters per turn, dark vision, and hellish resistance, which you have resistance to fire damage, taking only half damage from it. And similar to any race in here, you can do whatever class you want, but once you pay attention to the sub-races of this class as well too, not class, sorry, race, Asmodeus Tiefling has the cantrip of Produce Flame. A flame in your hand sheds a light in 9 meters radius and deals 1 to 8 fire damage when thrown until long rest. So to me, immediately this kind of speaks, you know, this could probably be really good at Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard. Since the cantrip we start with is, you know, flame, you can possibly turn this into a Pyromancer build, you know, or a Battle Mage, things like that. Mephistopheles Tiefling here, and I probably mispronounced that, I'm sorry, has the cantrip of Mage Hand. So it's a conjuration cantrip. Create a spectral hand that can manipulate, interact with objects. And this 10 turns as well too, 18 meters as far as the distance it can be traveled. And I feel like this is similar to the Asmodeus Tiefling, where it can be potentially really good at Warlock, Sorcerer, and Wizard. So the first two subraces here, I think, are going to be more mage focused if you want to go that route. You don't have to, but there's the, opinion I have there and choice you have there to mess around with that. Have some fun. And this is just starting off cantrip. You're going to unlock more abilities. There's always multi-class you can do as well, too. The Zariel Tiefling here has Thaumaturgy, and I probably said it wrong, too. I'm sorry. But this allows you to gain advantage on intimidation and performance checks. And immediately that tells me this is going to be great for those, frontline type classes, those DPS tanks. So what I'm talking about is Paladin, Barbarian, Fighter, and even Monk to an extent, if you want to go that route. Because that'd be fun to have a monk that just has increased intimidation in conversations to just intimidate, anyone that wants to test you. But I definitely see, this type of race, and sub-race, I should say, as being more used for possibly Barbarian or Fighter, and even Paladin to that extent. Then you have the Drow, which the race features are base racial speed, move up to 9 meters per turn, Drow weaponing training. You have proficiency with the rapier, short sword, and hand crossbow. And immediately to me, that speaks, this would be great for a rogue, So you kind of know I'm going with this. Rogue already, I feel like, is going to be a strong class choice for this particular race. You got superior dark vision as well, which is also going to help out the rogue. You see up to 24 meters in the dark. Fey ancestry, which they get from being a sort of variation of elf. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep. So consider that. Now, the sub-races don't have any sub-race features. It's just Loathsworn and Southern Drow. No specific race features, so it doesn't matter. Choose what you want there. You don't necessarily have to go rogue with this. I think you can sell that, but I think rogue will probably be the top one that this will be really good at. Ranger could be another good option as well, too. You could also mess around with possibly doing monk, use superior vision on Fey ancestry with that, if you want to do that. But I don't know if monk would probably be that good. That's if you don't want to really take advantage of the draw weaponry training, though, in my opinion. But I think rogue is going to take advantage of that very nicely. And here we are to the humans. Now, typically humans, at least in early access, are essentially just a jack of all trades type. They can be good at anything class-wise. And that's still true here, but they decide to add some race features I wanted to, point out that may interest you. So, base race speed, 9 meters, like how elves are. Civil militia, though. This is very interesting. You have weapon proficiency with spears, pikes, halberds, and glaives. And armor proficiency with light armor and shields. So what that tells me then that this could be really good at, for the most part, I think early on or just overall, is that humans would excel at Fighter or Barbarian. You could go Paladin, but I think, the better choice would still be Fighter or Barbarian because of the light armor proficiency there, as well as, the weapons there. They use spears, pikes, halberds, and glaives. Heck, you might even be able to make sort of like a dragoon type of build with human, which would be fantastic in this game. There's no sub-races, of course, with this, but yeah, human can do what you want, just like any other race, jack of all trades, but I like that. But here's the other thing, too. Human versatility, once again, showcase more the jack of all trades type of feature with this race. Select an additional skill to be proficient in. Your carrying capacity is increased by a quarter. That is amazing. No other race has this in this game, as of right now. To increase your carrying capacity and have a select additional skill to be proficient as far as human versatility. At least as far as I know. Githyanki might be the other one. I'll get to Githyanki next, actually. Githyanki, much like humans, don't have a sub-race at all. And you may notice, with Lazel, she's a fighter. And yeah, that's one of the classes I think they're going to still excel at, as being a fighter. But let's take a look at the not sub-races, but the race features, sorry. And abilities, actions. You got action, cantrip, and race features here. So action-wise, they get astral knowledge, gain proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability until long rest. And you may look at it first glance like, wait, isn't it similar to what human versatility is? And in a way, it kind of is, but it's not at the same time. Once again, making Githyanki very versatile too, in a sense, where, yeah, they, play any class you want with these, but Fighter, I think, is still being really good for this particular race. as well as Barbarian, and other similar melee class builds, even Paladin, I would say. Another one that would be probably good is Warlock, in my opinion, because you can make a battle mage in a sense with that. You got the cantrip here of Give Yankee Psionics Mage Hand. You cannot switch this out, it's automatic. So, Mage Hand, I kind of went over that before, create an invisible spectral hand that can manipulate and interact with objects. Then you got race features here of the base race speed of 9 meters, and Martial Prodigy. A lifetime of relentless training gave you armor proficiency with light and medium armor, as well as proficiency with the short sword, long sword, and great sword. That's also why I say they could possibly make some really good paladins because of the great sword uses there, or not even necessarily paladins, but barbarians too. Because I mean, who wants to not, just wreck people with a great sword in this game, or any game for that matter, or even make a guts build of some sort. Dwarves are next here. Let's check out the race features. So base racial speed of 7.5 meters per turn. You got Dwarven combat training. You have proficiency with the battle axe, hand axe, light hammer, and warhammer. You have dark vision up to 12 meters. Seeing the dark. Dwarven resilience. You have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance to poison damage. You got subrace of Gold Dwarf, Shield Dwarf, and Draugr. Gold Dwarf here with their subrace feature is Dwarven Toughness. Your hit point maximum increases by 1 and increases by 1 again every time you gain a level. Real quick, Gold Dwarf I think would be great in particular for Fighter, Barbarian, or Paladin. Shield Dwarf, subrace feature here. You have your armor proficiency with light and medium armor. This can be a bit more tanky of a subrace feature here. Similar to Gold Dwarf, I think it's going to be great at Paladin and Fighter. Maybe Barbarian, if you want to make a tanky Barbarian too. There's an option. Draugr has superior dark vision, so you can see dark with 24 meters. And Draugr resilience, you have advantage on saving throws against illusions and against being charmed or paralyzed. I think Draugr would be great for Rogue, Bard, Warlock, Sorcerer, or Wizard even, with these two racial features. Half-elves here are going to be a kind of mixture of human and elf. Race features here are going to be base race speed of 9 meters. Per turn, you got Civil Militia, and I went over that earlier. Weapon proficiency with spears, spikes, halberds, glaives, armor piercing with light armor and shields. Dark vision up to 12 meters, see in the dark. Fey ancestry, like the elves. Advanced saving throws against being charmed, or magic can't put you to sleep. And you have the subrace of High Half-Elf, Wood Half-Elf, Drow Half-Elf. So, much like the High Elf itself, though, I think the High Half-Elf is going to really excel at Wizard. Once again, you can choose which cantrip you want to start off with, and they all are based or related to intelligence and where your intelligence is going to be, so that's very important to note. Wood Elf, similar thing, what I said before. Wood Half-Elf is going to be like the Wood Elf, and I think it's going to really excel at Ranger, Rogue, Monk, Fighter, and Druid. Drow Half-Elf has Dancing Lights. Illuminate a 9-meter radius, so essentially kind of help you out see in the dark a bit more if you want that. You cannot switch this out, so you're kind of stuck with this early on at level 1 with the Drow Half-Elf. Drow Half-Elf I think would be great for Rogue or even Ranger. And here are the Halflings, essentially the hobbits of the game. Halflings race features are base race speed of 7.5 meters per turn. You have Lucky. When you roll a 1 for an attack roll, ability check, or a saving throw, you can reroll the die and must use the new roll. So that's a catch of that. But this can be very helpful and useful in tough situations when you have a bad roll. Brave. You have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. So, very good depending on how often you get frightened in the game. Don't know. Haven't gone for the full game yet, but interesting to note. Subraces. Lightfoot Halfling and Strongheart Halfling. Lightfoot Halfling here. Subrace feature naturally stealthy. You have advantage on stealth checks. What this speaks to me is Lightfoot Halfling will be great at Rogue. Monk as well because of the Shadow Monk, subclass. Rogue because of Assassin, Thief, other subclasses there. Bard as well, I think you can argue, to put in there if you want like a stealthy Bard type. I think you'd be really good at. Strongheart Halfling has Strongheart Resilience. You have advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance to poison damage. So, and this can kind of work with about any class, I think, but I want to, make a note that you can do a Bard if you want to with this as well. Ranger, I think would be good for if you want to have like a Ranger, had resistance to poison, stuff like that. But you can mess around with what you want with this. This is kind of more of like be anything you want, especially. But I think, Ranger Barbie get really good with this. The gnomes. The gnomes here. Base racial speed 7.5 meters. Gnome cunning. You have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Sub races here. You got rock gnome, forest gnome, deep gnome. Rock gnome first here has dark vision and artificer's lore. Add twice a proficiency bonus to history checks. So if rock gnome, I think it'd be great for ranger and sorcerer with these sub race features added in there, plus the other race features added in. Forest gnome has speak with animals off the bat. Speaking of animals, you can essentially get the ability to comprehend and communicate with beasts until long rest. Also, intelligence is reflected upon this related to this, so it's based on your intelligence as well too, as far as the usage of it. I think forest gnomes would be great for druid and clerics initially. Obviously, experiment, have fun with it, see what you may like with forest gnome, but I think they could excel at druid and cleric. Deep gnome has superior dark vision, so seeing the dark up to 24 meters. And stone camouflage, you have advantage on stealth checks. So that is going to be a rogue suggestion from me, and monk as well. The top two right there, I think would be excellent. Maybe if you want to mess around with ranger too, to be a stealthy ranger type. But hey, because there's still going to be those subclasses you can experiment with in multi-class as well too. But yeah, deep gnome, I think it'd be really good for those. Now for the dragonborn. Oh man, the dragonborn, such a cool looking race in here, and probably has the most subclasses of all. Let me go in here and show you guys. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. Now, a lot of these are very similar though in a sense, because you have the red, brass, and gold that you do fire. So you got brass, red, gold, all have a fire breath attack essentially, and have draconic ancestry where they have resistance to fire damage. So keep that in mind. A lot of these are like that. You got blue, bronze, and that are lightning based essentially. So blue, lightning breath, resistance to lightning damage. Bronze, once again. Black, copper, do acid. So black and copper are acid based. You have green, which is poison breath and resistance to poison. And then you got white, silver that are cold. They do the frost breath and resistance to frost. So it's, dealer's choice on that. I feel like these are going to be very versatile, much like humans, in a sense of where you can do whatever class you want them, honestly. Some classes I wrote down I think they would probably really be good at, though, still would be like, like paladin, monk, barbarian, warlock, fighter. Those types, I think they'll be really great at. Just because I think these would be great, more so great for frontline type of like builds, like melee builds, where you're just like in the fight and you can get up close and use your fire breath attacks and not necessarily be far away with the whole like warlock or sorcery. So just be in their face using whatever breath attack you want to just decimate your enemies. And the final one, half orc. Now I hope they add more races to this game in the future too, but half orc here, I cannot wait to play as personally. Gonna be one of my favorite races out besides Dragonborn. Half orc, base racial speed 9 meters, dark vision up to 12 meters, relentless endurance. This is the only race that has this. Also, it does not have a sub race, but relentless endurance. If you reach 0 hit points, you regain 1 hit point instead of becoming downed. That's fantastic. Essentially, you don't get down, you don't die. No, you stay alive. And then savage attacks. When you land a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, your damage dice are tripled instead of doubled. Meaning, do more damage with the crits, do more damage overall. And I think it's going to be very great for your melee focused type of classes, such as fighter, barbarian, paladin, and even monks, I would say. I'll argue that as well. I think they'll be great monks as well. So that's going to be it for the race. As I mentioned here, this is mainly about race features. Was not trying to focus on any of this stuff over here or the backgrounds. That'll be for a separate video, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Does it got you more excited? Does that have you more thinking about, okay, maybe I should, take a second opinion or a second thought or whatever, backpedal a bit on what race I should go with, Or what are you going to play with in, regardless, what is the decision you're stuck on in your first playthrough? Love to hear from you. Hope this was helpful too. and I will be bringing you more guides and tip videos for Baldur's Gate 3. Just give me time. The game just released. I didn't get no review copy or anything like that, so just bear with me, and I'll get them out as soon as I can. Other guide videos and build videos and anything like that. If you want to catch me live streaming this, my Twitch is in the description below. Twitch.tv/1_hero. And I'd love to hear from you, see you in my live streams as well. We chat up about this wonderful game. My name is Mike, and thank you for watching.